Hey, what's going on, crypto people? It is your boy B Crypto Siege with another day in the life, in the crazy life that is the digital asset space. What is going on, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. That's odd. Hope everyone is good. Happy Sunday. Hopefully this is working right. What's good? Hey, Dobian 2, what's going on, bro? Nigel Brown is in the building, guys. Yeah, good to see you. It's just going to be a really quick one. It's kind of prepping for the stream later tonight. Morning, Siege. What's up, XRP gal? Good to see you. Nate B is in the building. What's good? Yeah, guys. So this is just going to be a really quick one. I got to head out of here about 1:30, 1:35. So I only got about 30, 35 minutes. I really wanted to kind of prep this stream for the one I'll do later tonight. Two interesting topics I wanted to talk about, actually three. Bro, XRP is in the building. What's good? Trey Hauser, yeah, what's good? What up, winners? From church. Yeah, we just actually came from church. Bro, XRP. Yeah, so two things. Central bank digital currencies, more than a micronation experiment. I want to talk about that. And will this COVID-19 lead to a gold standard? Will a COVID-19 lead to a gold standard? This central bank digital currencies article is a really, really good one. More than a micronation experiment. Talking about Ripple in there as well. Danny Love, happy Sunday. What's good? So yeah, guys, just going to be on here for about 30, 35 minutes. Just kind of wanted to prep what we're going to talk about later on tonight in the stream. It'll be about maybe 5:30. We'll have an hour to talk about that then. But yeah, some interesting times. Obviously, this whole idea of Ethereum and XRP, the people from Spring and the people from Ethereum working together is absolutely exciting. The markets, I got to tell you, there's something going on. And I found this article to be really, really interesting when they were talking about the Marshall Islands and kind of the situation and kind of the dilemma that they're in and how they move their money. I thought was really, really fascinating. And the fact that they thought that Ripple or XRP could get in there and actually do the job, I thought was interesting. And it kind of plays to that point of that one moment where Brad Garlinghouse was on stage with the lawyer from the IMF. And his answer was, a country would have to hold or have to use a digital asset. It was pretty interesting. This article talks about that possibility of XRP doing that. Everything thinking unknown revolvers in the building. What's going on? Good to see you, unknown revolver. Win Mullet is in the building. What's up, Win Mullet? 416 Crypto is here. What's good, 416 Crypto? Ilyas Hussein. Ilyas. Is technical analysis mostly rubbish? I don't know if it's mostly rubbish. XRP number one is in the building. Hey, Siege, what's up with you, man? I want to read just one little article, one part of this article. But again, guys, I only have like 30, 35 minutes to get on here. I just wanted to hang out with you guys for a little bit, kind of share some of my thoughts. I just think this article is really, really interesting. And I don't know if most people, was it Ross Leskow? The IMF lawyer, Ross Leskow, maybe? The Thunder Sound is in the building. Listening from the bed. What up, Siege? What's up, the Thunder Sound? Hope everything's good with you, bro. So, central bank digital currencies, more than a micronation experiment. Let me see. Okay. Okay. This is from a Medium article. There exists nothing more ridiculous to me in the latter half of the preceding decade than the exploration of central bank digital currencies. No, really, the production, issuance, enforcement, and economic impact of such a monetary policy has yet to truly impact the physical world and will forever change the way virtual economies are established. My personal research has created various theories that I endlessly ran about to friends and colleagues I go on about hypotheticals around the implementation and rationalization of a CBDC in both the Western and Eastern and economic sectors, and I haven't stopped since around 2017. Around this same time, I was introduced to RippleNet. It is imperative to understand how the RippleNet protocol functions to have a robust comprehension of the problems it claims to solve and how those claims have changed over time. The RippleNet protocol is overseen by Ripple and a select group of distributed partners. It has quickly been implemented in high-volume remittance markets and uniquely positioned within primary G20 centralized monetary systems. I have written extensively about macroeconomic theory in relation to the issuance of a central bank digital asset or currency in the West, specifically in the UK and United States on my Twitter. Okay, how about that? We'll have to follow him on Twitter. Did not know that. Let's see. However, we shall remain focused on the actual implementation of CBDCs in a very specific market. For the purposes of this paper, it won't hurt to be familiar with the International Monetary Fund, as they are a dominant force when it comes to global fiscal oversight. And again, for me, the article with the IMF and this particular region and Ross, it just got me thinking about Ross Leskow, I believe his name was, the lawyer from the IMF, and Brad Garlinghouse being on stage. And I think the question was, would the IMF ever hold a digital asset? I believe is what the question was. Here's a quick video on the current economic trends coming from the island's inhabitants. And so the island he's talking about is the Marshall Islands. And it says, what is it? A third of the nation has left for something, and I'm not going to play that. But the Republic of the Marshall Islands, RMI, the Republic of the Marshall Islands Central Bank Digital Currency Project is essentially marketed as a Cayman's Island 2.0 pseudo treasury asset. The SOV, short for sovereign, is a utility-driven and directly fungible digital asset issued on a federated chain maintained by a government-appointed nonprofit. Two words there, sovereign, utility chain, sovereign utility, that's two words, and then federated, I think it's important to note. While the young nation will control the issuance of a currency, it will also be created as a wholly non-USD peg floating currency. Although issued alongside the dollar, the sovereign utility will be associated with the value of the dollar, in domestic markets. Supply of the sovereign will be linear, following a 4% issuance year over year based on the total supply cap, and will be distributed to all residents monthly in a form of helicopter money known as universal basic income. Feels like this is like a test market. Feels like this is like an experimental market. All of this is outlined in the video below, which is quite the experience if you have the time. There are really intriguing cues in this video that I think offer insight into the real motives of the issuance of the sovereign token. When I get back later today, we're going to kind of play these. Let me know if any of you guys have seen this article or listened to this video. Okay, while the asset issuance is maintained by the government of the Republic, it is unknown who provides the validation services computationally. I don't even know how to say that. Or which protocols are employed to encrypt and validate transactions. Secondary and derivative markets around sovereign will require KYC and AML to deter criminal money laundering. The utility of the asset will drive speculation. The utility of the asset will drive speculation, according to authorities. Which begs the question, which industries will drive liquidity-based utility to affect prices? I will be citing mainly from the IMF's Country Report, number 18 from 2018, which can be found if you Google CR 18270. The following are excerpts from the IMF report supplemented with my own commentary. RMI, which is the Marshall Islands, uses the U.S. dollar as a legal tender and currently does not have a monetary authority. The country has a high dependence on external aid from the United States. With the 2003 Compact of Free Association Agreement between the Marshall Islands and the United States, the U.S. has committed to providing annual grants averaging $36 million from 2004 to 23, approximately 20% of the island's GDP, 20% of the annual GDP. Whoa. For these aid flows to reach their financial recipients, CBRs and local banks are needed. Similarly, Marshallese citizens who work for the United States military and United States-based companies in the Kwajalein Atoll rely on their local bank accounts to receive salaries from their U.S. employers through a U.S. bank. Remittance flows are primarily coursed through the two money transfer operators, Western Union and MoneyGram, which also rely to some extent on the CBRs of the banks in the Marshall Islands. All right, so here, where's the good part? I can't skip it. Remittance MSBs are one of the few major U.S. dollar liquidity corridors for the RMI CBRs. Of the multitude of major global MSBs, which is, I think, money service businesses, both Western Union and MoneyGram are listed to be on the islands. Both entities have been involved with Ripple's X-Currency test in the past, while Ripple invested $50 million in the MoneyGram as of Q4 2019. In the past, there were only two U.S.-backed corresponding banking relationships, CBRs, available to support the Bank of the Marshall Islands, which is further highlighted below. Okay. The Bank of the Marshall Islands is a domestic financial institution providing banking services to a substantial portion of the population and operates 5 branches through the islands, including the Kwajalein Atoll, the First Hawaiian Bank, a subsidiary of PNB Paribas, is the Bank of the Marshall Islands' only remaining United States CBR. That said, in 2014, HFB issued a notice of CBR termination, which is to become effective once the Bank of the Marshall Islands secured alternative arrangements. BOMI previously had 2 additional U.S. dollar CBR relationships, which were central bank relationships, which were terminated in 2007. The other bank operating in the Marshall Islands, the Bank of Guam, is a foreign-owned bank with 1 branch in the main island of Majuro. It has its own American Bankers Association routing numbers to facilitate wire transfers from international locations, and its deposits are insured by the U.S. FDIC. In the second excerpt provided by the IMF in 2018, we can see a very limited financial market outlined by drama stemming from incidents involving another early Ripple partner, BNP Paribas, and a relationship with global financial authorities. Okay. Terminated. 2014, FSB terminated its U.S.-backed financial services with the Marshall Islands due to FDIC risk. However, it is imperative to note at this point we have identified a singular, newly founded republic, which has a singular flow through the military remittances controlled by RippleNet. Controlled by RippleNet test partners. Never heard of that. But these services are also at risk due to the inability of another financial partner's subsidiary not being able to provide those services in competition to a foreign-owned bank. This is a perfect sandbox opportunity. That's what I felt like it. It's like a test to me. It really does feel like it. This is a perfect sandbox opportunity to test a CBDC against a dollar flow economy near major East Asian tiger economies. Holy God, this guy with these, man, or so you would think. In fact, Ripple doesn't want sovereign to ever happen. Ripple is perfectly positioned to not only influence the liquidity control for the Marshall Islands, but the strength of the XRP asset in relation to existing stablecoins, fiats, and fiat-based baskets, which in this test market can create a near real capitalistic scenario. If the Marshall Islands wishes to become the Cayman 2.0 plus blockchain, then that dream is one of the greatest honeypots of the modern era because the Marshall Islands are one of the largest foreign registers of maritime vessels in the world. The island offers the following services. Okay, we don't want to read that. Okay, that's good. The Marshall Islands is technically the victim in this entire dilemma. Okay, so here it is. This dilemma left the Marshall Islands to essentially fend for themselves financially by utilizing remittance services to process payments instead of banks, except they had to pay high fees for those services. The loss of sovereignty is striking. The Marshall Islands had to figure out how to bank themselves. In doing so, they came up with the sovereign. Is it flawed? Yes. Are there better options? This guy believes that there are better options. The statement above is where some very intriguing things are hinted at, but in the same blurb, the current problems for some very important players are made clear. Okay. The Marshall Islands are seeking another international correspondent bank willing to take on the risk profile of the island's economic loophole. BNB Paribas is caught in limbo until a replacement can be found. Meanwhile, MoneyGram and Western Union are testing options to continue to service the military personnel and military contractors, which are major liquidity factors for the island. And finally, the IMF is trying to ensure that economic stability is maintained if the Bank of Guam, BOG, leaves the island due to risk management concerns over the issuance of digital assets by the Bank of the Marshall Islands. What does this leave us? In sort of a financial legal loophole where no one really knows who moves the money or how much is moved. Wow. Okay. So excerpt from the Marshallese citizens receiving salaries, except for the Marshallese citizens receiving salaries from the U.S. military or U.S.-based companies, the project impact of the termination of the Bank of Marshall Islands CBR to the country's overall remittance remains unclear at present, especially since money transfer operators offer an alternative remittance channel. And who provides money transfers? Operators themselves with an alternative remittance channel. Ripple. Could this be the playground for an XRP-based remittance channel that we may have seen ODL volume spike on in the recent months? Interesting. Economic incentive to help facilitate with Ripple, who also has a stake in local markets through MoneyGram. Because if one thing is clear, the IMF certainly does not support the issuance of the sovereign asset. Interesting how he ties those three together. So MoneyGram, the IMF, Ripple because, I don't know why that changed, Ripple because of their relationship with those particular banks that are trying to make this whole thing work for the Marshall Islands. So that's an interesting tie. Very, very interesting tie there. I think that's the, that sandbox. I think that's that test. So, guys, you guys all remember when the guy from the IMF, the lawyer from the IMF, was on stage with Brad Garlinghouse, right? We've seen that video plenty of times. Remember the title? Remember the question, rather? Remember that question? I believe it was, will the IMF ever hold a digital asset? You guys remember that question? And he said, he answered he had to be careful. I don't know why he felt like he needed to be careful, but he had to be careful as a lawyer, which to me means that something was already being tested, that they were already looking into this option. And the fact that the IMF is mentioned in that article alongside these banks that are RippleNet partners with MoneyGram also in that same mix as well makes me think like that the Marshall Islands might be perhaps the one where Ripple can kind of step in. Unknown Revolver says, very interesting article. Thanks for the read, Siege. You bet, Unknown Revolver. Appreciate you being here. Property Rich. What's going on, Property Rich? Danny Loft. That's a good point right there. Now, this is from a guy. This is a Medium article, right? He says that article may be from a leak at G20. It's a very, very interesting. Why do you say that, Danny Loft, by the way? It's just kind of a hunch, a gut feeling. But it's so well put together. It just makes me think like where did that guy get that from? Now, it's supposed to be a mix of his thoughts and some excerpts. Like, where'd you get that? And is the Marshall Islands perhaps that country, that region where you're able to do that? Yeah, he tapped around it, right? Ross Leckow. Yeah. Ross, okay, what did you say? Ross Recklow? Interesting, right? Yes, exactly. IMF holding crypto assets. And here this guy is pointing out in this article how very easy that is to do. Very easy. Why is that on a different tab? Right? So that has me thinking, what is that about? Oh, I gotcha. Daniel, I was talking about a different article. I was talking about the Forbes article that just came out about the United States warning about Bitcoin and is pushing for XRP adoption. Yeah, so that Forbes article, I had that too in my bookmarks. And I was going to talk about it, but I think that might have been one of the videos where there was no sound. But I find that article was really, really kind of interesting. That it says pushing for XRP adoption, and the fact that that's coming from Forbes is really, really huge. You guys, you've heard me say on this channel tons and tons of times. It just feels as though, right? You kind of get this feeling in your gut that the powers that be are trying to move away from Bitcoin. They're trying to dethrone Bitcoin. You know what I mean? They're bringing up the energy. They're bringing up this carbon stuff. That every time we turn around, billionaires are devoting themselves to climate change. And it's all kind of, it feels like they're all trying to dethrone BTC. Like, it feels like it. Now, they can't get rid of BTC, right? And here's the thing that they realize. Number one, they understand they can't get rid of BTC. They can't get rid of it. No matter what kind of laws they put into place and what kind of things they put into effect, they can't get rid of BTC because of the underlying technology behind it. Not the blockchain, not the BTC blockchain, but the technology. Because of the technology underneath it, there's always a chance to build something. There's always going to be a chance to build something that they can't control. Always. Like it's always going to be something that can be built that they can't control. So you can slap a business with a fine if you know they're doing something in terms of BTC. But how would you know? if it's on another blockchain, I'm convinced that they're going to be blockchains. Just like now, like a lot of people, it's so funny because a lot of people think Monero is the the quote unquote privacy coin, the privacy coin of all privacy coins, and that's not even close. It's not even close to being number one. There are three, if not four, even more secure, even more private, even harder to tap blockchains or coins than Monero. Monero is not the one. It may be the most popular one, Monero and Zcash, and I guess Dash has an element of privacy to it. But there are other coins out there that are significantly got these Z snarks attached to them, significantly, like it's zero traceability, zero from start to end. That is what the powers that be discovered, and why they said it's going to evolve and adapt around us. That is why. It is not because of the Bitcoin movement and the fact that they felt like they couldn't control it, because obviously they know they can. If it was just blockchain, if it was just the Bitcoin blockchain, they knew they could control that because they can trace it. Those transactions are not fully private. But when they discovered that there are other ones, then they can't get to them. Listen, and here's how I know they discovered other ones that they can't get to, because I know there are other ones that they can't get to. Right? That's why they're adopting the technology and embracing it. And the reason why, their go-to is going to be the ILP, the XRPL ledger, is because if they go to war, or if you will, emotionally, or if they try to ban, these different types of things like that, if they go that route, they know that there's technology out there they can't control. They can't control it. Like literally, they can't control it. Like you can't bring it down. The only option is to completely eliminate the internet. But because of this technology, there's going to be, how many people realize that one day there's going to be a thing that is completely separate from the internet? Like they can't stop the advancing technology. Like they can't. And privacy coins are going to have a tough spot. But they're only going to have a really hard, tough spot if the government start attacking the digital assets and not embracing them. In other words, if they try to ban, I don't think they're going to ban Bitcoin, but they are going to dethrone it in terms of popularity, in terms of use case. In other words, utility and climate control and green energy is going to start winning the day. And all the properties of Bitcoin is going to start to be frowned upon. You see what I'm saying? That's how they dethrone it, right? That's how they dethrone it without the masses going into a revolt about trying to take G, right? They talk more about transparency, and the Bitcoin blockchain will be for the anti-money launderers, right? For the bad guys, right? But the XRP, and the ledger and the ILP will be all the good stuff, fully compliant, fully transparent, right? Faster. All of these attributes they're going to run to. They're going to run to them. They're going to shove them down the masses' throats in order to dethrone BTC. In order to dethrone BTC. And that's the only option that they have. The XRP ledger and the ILP is the only option that they have. If they didn't have that, they would be in trouble. So now they know they can put every single thing on the ledger. They know it. They know it. But I believe it was twofold. The ILP, XRPL ledger, and the fact when they realized that they couldn't strong arm the technology, and you know what I mean, they couldn't strong arm it like Russia is doing. Like Russia is strong arming the technology. Oh yeah, you can get some, but you're gonna have to turn it in for our thing so that you can go get stuff. Right? That is strong arming the technology. But they could do that there. Here they can't because the technology is just going to just go around it, right? Just going to go around it in a couple minutes. So, and that's the big deal. That is the deal. That's the essence, guys. 64 people on the stream and 29 likes. Do me a favor, guys. If you had a chance to smash the like on the way in, if you enjoying the hangout and you're enjoying the conversation, just go smash the likes for us. We'll collapse the chat, go smash the like, and then come back and hang out, guys. I wanted to hop on here and talk about this, and we're going to talk about this later on today as well. I got to take the teenagers. We're going to go out and have a good time. We'll be gone for a couple hours, 3 hours, as I like to say, and then we'll be back on here. But guys, that article, I don't know if you've seen that central bank digital currencies more than a micronation experiment. I think it's huge. I think that really points to that conversation or that moment with Brad Garlinghouse and Ross Leckow. I'm going to say Leckow. I really, really do. Carl Wagner's in the building. What's up, Carl? Good to see you in the stream, bro. I'm good. I gotta go, brother. We'll have to catch up another time. Guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out. It's some food for thought for later on's attack. But when they say, when Clayton said that, the innovation and its technology is going to, if we don't embrace it, it's going to innovate around us. That's what he was talking about. That's what he was talking about, right? And what I'm saying is, the technology today is advancing and advancing and advancing. The Silk Road, right? Silk Road still exists. It still exists. It still exists. And you got to ask yourself why that is. How were they able to still continue to move on and Napster was not? And if you don't think, again, how many people in here know that there is a more private, less traceable, utterly untraceable technologies out there in the digital asset space? How many guys know that? A lot of people think Monero or Zcash is the one, right? A lot of people think that, and it's not. Trust me, it's not. There are more secure, more private, like literally they cannot trace it. And what I'm saying humbly to you is if I know about it, the powers that be know about it too. And they know about it. And those technologies are around for a reason. They are around for a reason. And it is not for speculation. Elixir's a good one, but no. John Lauderdale, good to see you here. They're not around for speculation on an exchange, right? They're not, right? And the powers that be know that. They know that. So they're going to embrace it. And what they're going to do is not only embrace the technology, right? Because they, listen, the confessions of an economic hitman, that's a real thing. Like, that is a real deal. That's how this government and some other governments, but mainly this government, has operated for decades. It's a real deal. And they had to, they sat down in the room, innovate around them. They had to go to plan B. They had to go to plan B. And part of plan B is this good old US of A company that gifted to the W3C, the ILP, and has this ledger that will not ever put a transaction on it that is not KYC, AML, and CFT, and they're going to espouse this to the world as their thing, and they're going to encourage everything, if you will, to kind of get on that. And the privacy people know that. They know it. All right, guys, listen, I got to get out of here. I got to run. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I'll stay tuned for a stream later on today. Without questions, Ripple equals Bretton Woods. Without question. Absolutely. That's their answer. That's their answer, because they couldn't strong arm. We can't strong arm it here in the States. They can strong arm technology in places like Russia, but they can't strong arm the technology here. The technology will innovate around them, and they know it. They know it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Listen, stay tuned for the stream later on today. Guys, I want to remind you of a couple of things. Number one, you are playing a game, my friend. You are playing a game that 99.999% of the masses don't even know is being played. And you're winning. You're winning. Hope you guys realize that. The other thing that I like to point out in every single stream is this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.